Hi. So I'm here with my dear patient and friend, Heather Hollander, who we've been working together for about 3 years now. And Heather has realized a miraculous transformation. She has been working so diligently on her health, and it's just been such a pleasure to witness it for me, because it's rare to find someone that's willing to really go to the depths of their soul to heal on a soul level. So let's just kind of talk about your path and what you've experienced over the last 3 years, and maybe what led you to me in the first place, and how you are today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and it's such an honor to find such a brilliant medical professional and physician who also knows how to work with the soul. So it was really just a dream come true when we came together. And we were introduced through mutual friends, Sim Harmeen and Mark Sims, and I believe also Zena Musica. So
Oh, wow.
we have many,
Yeah.
and then more mutual friends started showing up. So it really feels like it was just destined.
For sure.
And I've been working to, figure out what had been going on with my health for 20 years at the time. And unfortunately, even though I had been able to mostly maintain a remission state with what was a mysterious illness at the time, I had a mold exposure while working on a film living in Sydney in 2016, and a severely hostile and stressful work environment for the year following that, and my health completely collapsed. And everything that had worked for almost 20 years, that I could kind of hide from the world that I had this mysterious illness going on and keep going, it didn't work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so it brought you to a place where you really needed to go deeper in order, because I think when I first met you, you had some tools that would help you feel better and kind of get you out of a crisis, but then it just would keep rolling back around. So it wasn't really unwinding anything. It was just more allowing you to function. And when I met Heather, I really had this sense that you're a powerful being and you have really important work to do in the world, and we're all of us are powerful beings, but I really had this sense like I wanted to help you, and because I think that not only do you have an important mission, but that our mission is conjoined in some way. And so anyway, I wasn't content to just like manage this on a symptomatic level and make you feel better so you could go back to work, but really wanted to see you unwinding this all the way. So talk about your journey a little bit.
Well, my journey with Dr. Beth, has been miraculous. I mean, we are experiencing a miraculous birthing, I think. I want to say recovery, but I feel like recovery is a backwards sort of a term. And it's been many cycles of death and birth on every single level. I feel like what's been revealed is a whole new path for how we are able to embody our highest consciousness and our soul in order to literally heal on a cellular level, which comes down to reprogramming every cell in your being. And I think that's one of the most recent recognitions, is like, oh, my cells are confused.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really about stripping the layers of interference out of your system, the dissonant signatures caused by the programming and the traumas and all of this that are just disrupting your physical body's ability to resonate with your pristine blueprint.
Right.
So you're really excavating.
Yes, and I had already been excavating for 20 years. So, it's like, I feel like I went on a 20-year tour of every personal development, soul awakening, sexual healing, soul healing, child healing, adventure. And what was really interesting was to then realize how much more was actually trapped underneath the surface. And that's what I find to be so incredible about your work and your ability, and the way that you work with these imprints and signatures that would otherwise go undetected, and really ultimately did. Like when my brain melted down again, and at the end of what was 2017, I got taken all the way down at the end of 2017, then started to kind of come back up, and then I finally found you in 2018 because I went into an 8-day neuroinflammatory episode that, I mean, the next thing I knew, I was like, I had friends in my home moving me. All of my things were scattered everywhere. And I've been now on a journey for almost, 3 years now since then. So, when your brain catches on fire and your whole nervous system catches on fire, you're just really stopped in your tracks. And I remember knowing like nothing's ever going to be the same. Like I remember the first time I was able to look at light after, somewhere in the midst of that 8-day episode, and when people started showing up and everything started like disintegrating, I just remember being like, oh, I just died, but I'm still here.
Wow. Yeah. And I'd like to paint a picture of what Heather was like when I met her. She came into my clinic and she had to wear dark glasses. She had noise canceling headphones. You had this huge poncho with like a fur lining, and she had it over her head and then kind of like, over her body. And it's just like light was too much, sound was too much, stimuli was too much of any kind of variety. And you literally had to close the world out because your nervous system was so inflamed. You were just sensitive.
Yeah, I mean, sensitive is kind of like a light term.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I, powder? Like, you remember that movie Powder?
Yeah.
But there was no way out of it. And I searched, and, I saw many other people, on top of the incredible professionals and doctors and integrative medicine, miraculous people I had worked with for 20 years. It's like I had to go to a whole nother level to find you. And, now I can say, wow, my nervous system is just so intelligent, because I had no idea at the time that this would be the most important place to be, right here, right now, with what's happening in the world. And that through the years that we've worked together, I mean, I think the first year was nothing except for throwing up and being locked in a dark room, and then like just having to like pull together everything I had to get myself to the clinic, and then back into the dark room to continue the purging process and the praying and the melting down. But during those moments, I was able to, thankfully, through the tools that you mentioned and the ways that I had already been taught to access my soul and access the field, I was able to, in those moments of purging, die and be born at the same time, and was able to start gleaning information about solutions and systems that we need to be building, that at first I thought was just going to be my little baby purpose for me and my friends who ended up with Lyme. And now I realize is for humanity.
And, yeah, and we'll definitely talk more about your vision for in a minute. But I think it'd be good just for our audience to talk about, on a physical level, what you were dealing with when I first met you. Because you were dealing with a history of Lyme disease, and it seemed that there was some reactivation of Lyme and co-infections. You were dealing with a significant mold exposure, and there was a very heavy burden of mycotoxins in the system. You also had petroleum-based solvent exposure that was pretty significant. And there was a lot of these solvents in the nervous system. And we think you had intestinal worms, worm infestation, and variety of dysbiosis in the gut, hormonal imbalance, blocked detoxification pathways. So really, in the beginning, we had to start on a physical level, didn't we?
Yeah.
Mostly. And so we began by opening up pathways of elimination and working with IV ozone and Patricia Kane protocol. So
Oh yeah,
that
that's
was
a fun one.
that was big. That was big.
really
So
big.
this is intravenous phospholipid therapy. And so phospholipids are the components of our cell membranes, the primary component of the cell membrane. And a lot of these toxins we just mentioned, the mycotoxins from mold and the biotoxins from the tick-borne diseases and petroleum solvents and all of these things are fat soluble. And one of the large reservoirs that they kind of hide in are the cell membranes of your body. And that's not such a big deal if it's in a cell type that dies and is replaced on a regular basis, like your intestinal cells or something. But the neurons in your brain, the ones you're born with, you have your whole life, basically. So it's the place where people tend to collect a lot of these toxins. And then the toxins produce inflammation, and then that generates free radicals, and it starts damaging the membranes. And so what we needed to do was flush the toxins out of the cell membranes. And it was a process. Yeah. It was, but it really...
it's still a process.
It's still a process. We're not done,
No,
but
not done.
we've come so far. Yeah. And so we started on that level, really flushing the toxins out, and with intravenous phospholipid therapy, where you're kind of flushing and then mopping the toxins up with sulfating agents and methylating agents. And then you taught me a lot about how other adjunctive therapies that you could do so that you could tolerate it better. Mm-hmm. You found infrared saunas to be critical, colon hydrotherapy after the IV.
Absolutely.
What else? You were doing coffee enemas.
Skin brushing, and the body magic system that I've been developing with my dear friend Maura Guazda for the last decade came to an entirely next level in our work with swings and Dawn does, and the type of movement that we do that's based on dynamic tension, tensegrity, and rhythmic oscillation. And so truly, like the oscillation, I have to oscillate for hours a day, like physically oscillate, so that the cerebral spinal fluid moves and perfuses, so that things are getting perfused. And then skin brushing, sauna, followed by coffee enema plus colonics. Yeah, it's a non-negotiable, actually.
Yeah.
I can't, like, when I meet people in the clinic who refuse to do a colonic, I'm like, well, really? Like, how long do you plan on being sick? Like, I don't understand, because to me, like, I'm just running. Like, if they would take me every day, if I had the money to have a colonic every single day, I would absolutely do it. I think colonics are the fastest path to enlightenment.
Well, not everyone needs them every day, and I think it can be done a little too frequently sometimes, but they really had their place for you, and I think a lot of people need them on a very regular basis. But yeah, so we started there on that physical level, and then we started working really with Acmos. I think that was the next step that we moved to. Would you agree?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention was that I also had traumatic brain injury. When
that's
we
right.
met, I had already been working a year for 3 to 5 days a week with Marty Wutke from the Wutke Institute.
Yeah.
And we had completely unfrozen my amygdala and restructured the function of my brain for a year before I met you. And I was still in that much trouble.
Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing, actually.
It is.
I think the angels definitely have a plan for me.
They do, yeah. And then, so right away, I think right in the beginning, I got you hooked up with Cindy at NeuroFit Marin, who's an incredible neural feedback therapist and has some really interesting approaches.
Yeah, we do some really incredible brain fitness training, which we can go more into, but the Acmos, absolutely. It's like everything. This is what I'm most excited about, is that I feel like we've been together through our shared intuition. And this is what's incredible about working with you, is that I feel like we're partners. And when we come together in a session, whether it be to adjust my protocol or to go into the emotional energetic work with the Acmos, I can feel you meeting me on every level. So we're speaking here, and then we are also in communication through our other senses. And it's just, that's why I just feel like you're a radiant health partner more than a doctor. And that's really the attitude I believe that it takes. Like, we're partners in developing and discovering something that hasn't been discovered yet, you know? And what's been being revealed is really how we can work these continuums of consciousness like an instrument, from the most gross into the most subtle and back again, to clear the continuums of consciousness and all the layers that they play in. And then how that works in a synchronized manner, not only with my practices, but with all of the other therapists. So it's just, I feel so honored, although it's a very difficult honor. I feel honored that this is being born through this experience. I feel like we're being given the codes.
Yeah.
And it's like exciting.
It
I don't think I
is.
could keep going if I didn't have that piece.
Yeah. Because it's certainly not easy, and it takes just absolute 100% commitment, dedication to the healing process. I mean, basically, you are also blessed in that this is your full-time job right now.
Yeah.
You really couldn't do anything else.
No.
But at least you've been given the opportunity to really focus on the healing process, and you have taken it so seriously.
Well, it's a partnership with you and with my network of love, and like I feel like I'm a Radiant Health sponsored athlete.
Yeah.
And so when anything, any person, any attitude, anything threatens or begins to get in the way, something that my normal self would be like, no big deal. I'm like, oh, hell no.
You're fierce.
I'm like, that's cut, and that's cut, because I owe it. I owe it to you. I owe it to all the people who are investing in me in this process, who believe that I can make it through, who believe that we are unearthing and discovering the codes for how we embody our highest consciousness, and how that becomes this radiant health, which then heals the physical body, you know, from the smallest Planck particle out to the physical expressions, and beyond.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of stop there for a moment, because it's been really beautiful to witness Heather's almost like being able to harness higher and higher and higher levels of her being. You know, so it's like if you almost think about the soul as being existing in harmonics, let's say, or octaves at least. You know, there's you've been clearing the way to ground a greater amount of your energy into your body over time. And I'm wondering if you could talk about that, because it's just really beautiful to witness this like powerful energy coming through your body, which I think is you and your connection with the divine feminine and you know, this kind of feminine wisdom.
Thank you. Well, that brings us back to Acmos.
Okay, which we should talk more about.
Yeah, talk about Acmos, and then I can tell you how that weaves in.
So again, you know, my sense is that everything that we encounter in life has a energetic signature associated with it. So I mean like a molecule, a nutrient, a toxin, a bacteria, the constellation of the electromagnetic signatures of all the neurotransmitters and hormones associated with an emotional response to something, even a thought form that you've unknowingly kind of taken on has an energetic signature to it. And so some of these energetic signatures are in harmony with your being, and some are absolutely not, and they're creating dissonance in your system. And I believe that the more we collect these dissonant signatures, the less ability we have to extract energy and information from the unified field at large, and we diminish our resonance with our blueprint, our pristine blueprint, which is almost like the operating instructions and the template for our physical form and the operating instructions for our physiology. So really, restoration of health is removing the dissonance that we've accumulated so that you can move back into resonance with this pristine blueprint. And I think that it allows you to really realize a higher aspect of your soul. So,
and guess what? I'm here to tell you that's true.
Yeah.
And I know on every level, which is really incredible, because before we met, I was looking for someone who could get me there. And I think I said to you in our first meeting, like something like, well, I want my body to be a resonating chamber for the truth of who I am. Like, that's absolutely where we need to go. And you looked at me like, oh, thank God. And you told me how you work. And I was like, oh, there you are. Okay, I've been looking for you. Because, being a yogini, and I've been teaching yoga and meditation for 20 years. I've studied and been initiated by superhumans. Like, I've just been blessed with all of these incredible experiences of what's possible in terms of what it means to be human and how we heal. But at the same time, it still just felt a little mythical. It felt a little like, sure, they wrote that on the cave. Egyptians left these things in scrolls and on caves, but like, is it actually true? And I feel like that's what we've discovered. And like I can say, it's absolutely true. Everything that you just said, I have experienced again and again and again, and it's been going on for 3 years now. So, and it's absolutely true. And we are to the point where we've removed enough dissonant signatures through the Acmos work, and also, the whole orchestra of the team, and the way that we work in this sort of like rhythmic, circular pattern with peeling layers of trauma and of disease and of thought forms and relationships and parasites and all these things. It's just peeling in layers, and it feels to me like it happens very rhythmically and very in a very circular, spiralic manner. But the key of that is the Acmos.
Yeah.
Like, that unlocks. So we have an Acmos session. It reveals what's next to be unlocked, the dissonant signature, where it's living in the body and in the consciousness and everything in between. And then I go to work for the next month. I just like work it out through all of the different practices and things. And now, I think a year ago, I had an experience that I made contact with what I can only describe now as the true frequency of me. At the time, I thought it was like some weird alien form in my bedroom, like trying to abduct me. I was scared to death. And I was like, be braver, like, you want to be a superhuman? I was calling my superhuman friends, oh my God, this is what happened, da da da. And so anyways, I finally calmed down, and then we've spent a year now in the process of integrating, and me realizing, no, like, that was actually that connection that happened in a deep dream state in some other dimension that happened multiple times. That was actually exactly what we've been calling for at that point for 2 years, which was my divine connection, the connection to the truth of who I am, which in a lot of ways I thought I had already found, because I had already done so much spiritual work. I'd already had a big Kundalini awakening, and spiritual awakening, and I was teaching other people, but there was still more. And now for a year we've been integrating that, and we're continuing to peel the dissonant signatures. And the more we peel what's dissonant and the misunderstandings, or what I would call like inversions of thoughts, beliefs, and sort of programs that were told to me when I was so young in abusive situations, that I believed, that I sponged up, I believed. And I call them inversions because they're like backwards thinking, but it's like my little self inside is just doing the best she can, believing what she was told.
Right.
But there were inversions, misunderstandings, lies in the space.
And dissonant signatures disrupting resonance with the blueprint.
Yeah, and so the more we pull that, the more space there is for the true frequency of me. And now I would say we're getting really close. I'm mostly the true signature of me. And now we've been working also in the portical. So that technology is incredible for neuro reprogramming in the subconscious mind, way beyond what happens in neurofeedback and neurofitness.
This is the sound bed technology that we have in the office.
And so, I'd say in the last month was another huge clearing of a dissonant signature that had taken form inside my body as a, if you've ever heard, is it Eckhart Tolle that talks about the pain body? Yeah, so I was always like, the pain body? Where's the pain body? And recently I had a very visceral experience of locating it in a fascial pattern and how the dissonant signatures and information takes form in the fascia.
Yes, I've seen that with my own health and with other people too. Absolutely.
And it was like literally controlling almost the whole right side of my body. And I've spent the last 4 to 6 weeks unhooking it, releasing it, and it's just incredible. And as that pain body, an actual, it took physical form because it just completely changed the way I even held my body, the way I stand, the way my weight's distributed, the way my right eye was like crunched by it. All TMJ in my right, it's just incredible. It's like like there was something inside stuck in my fascia that we peeled out.
Yeah, that's why you can often read someone's biography in their body because it gets encoded and really changes the posture, changes the muscular tension patterns in the body. It's just encoded there. So then when you clear it, it has to be done on all of the levels. Like it's on a mind level, but then it has to be on a body level also, and on a cellular level.
Which all happens on multiple levels. And it's all nested, as our friend Nassim loves to tell us about. And it's so amazing to, that he's, working out the mathematics of the reality that I'm living and experiencing through your work. And it's just, it's truly awesome. It's truly awesome, the miracle of the body, the miracle of the consciousness.
Yes.
Our relationship between the two. And, I'm just like, get me strong. We have so much to create, and there's so many people to. I don't even want to use the word help because it's like radiant health is for everyone.
Yeah.
It's the unification, with the truth of who you are. It's the full dominion. It's the reclamation of the physical form as the resonating chamber for the essence of you. And like, I don't know. I mean, doesn't everyone want that?
Well, I just think a lot of people don't even know that it's possible. So you are a shining light and a living example of it is possible, and we haven't seen anything yet. Like this is just the beginning.
But we're getting so close. Now I know that it's true, and I think that's probably one of the biggest pieces.
Yeah.
Like there was a point where there was this thing that I believed was possible. But now it's like, it's more than believing it's possible. It's like, oh no, this is totally true. We're absolutely there. And now it's like if you were building a house and the frame is in, the foundation is built. And now we're finishing, we're decorating the temple and we're just cleaning things up and getting strong. We're strengthening. And so just knowing that it's possible is so incredible.
Yeah, and now we're moving into creation mode.
Right.
Because I think this might be we just have a little bit more time left to talk about the vision for the Lighthouse Foundation. And I'll just share a dream that this Acmos work that we've done, which is so critical in the healing process of so many of my patients, that are really, really needing to unwind chronic illness. This is just an incredibly important piece. And yet I'm only one person, and it's very time consuming and needs to be done repeatedly. And so my dream is to find technologies that can help to do this for us, and also to help people cultivate states of consciousness that are so high vibrational that they can transmute the dissonance signatures in the body. So I think that's where we're headed, so that it's something that we can teach people to do on their own.
Right, which is the whole mission for the Lighthouse Foundation. It's providing the model and the template and creating the systems and solutions, and a community for people to walk this path together, because it really does take more than just yourself. It really is. There's a partnership with every practitioner, healer, you as the leader, sort of as the doctor. It's a team effort. And so I think what really started as me being so heartbroken to realize that there was no help, there's no real help for the reality of neurological Lyme disease and this mass epidemic of broken brain and all of this neuroinflammatory stuff that is just taking over. I realized that with as much access as I have and as much support as I have, I was still living so on the edge, which to me was just so shocking for who I am, being educated, accomplished, and all these things. And so it started with we have to build a Lighthouse Foundation so that people who need help have a shelter to go to. Remember, that's what I was first thinking. So that they have a safe home and a safe house, because when you're in this sort of a treatment process, you have to be in a very coherent environment.
Right, almost like a cocoon.
Yeah.
You have to have, you can't have bad EMFs in the house. You've got to have good water. It has to be chemical free. Really,
even your light exposure.
Yeah.
No VOCs. I mean, it's
just, yeah.
It's ridiculous, kind of.
It really is
really
important
difficult.
because the brain is so sensitive that stress of any of these varieties can just inflame it. And so, yeah.
And then you're set back, and it's a nightmare. And so what I realized, though, was that we actually all need a coherent living environment. And as we are now in the process that we just described, which is the reality of we have access as human beings. Our bodies are truly the temples for our soul, but we are not embodying that. And we can. And in order to do that, we need to create the coherent environment that we're living in for the coherent environment, for this environment to become coherent as well.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of different products. There's ways to set up the living environment. There are frequency technologies that I use in my living space. I have scalers and generators, and I have a quantum resonator service that's set up on the house. And you can have prophylactically just spray for mold with a non-toxic environment. You can manage and set up your home as a regenerative lighthouse.
Yeah, and I think that basically this is really important information, and we should do a special segment on every aspect that you just mentioned, because I think it's really important information for people.
Yeah, and what I see, just in short, is that this whole, what I call the radiant health mandala, this sort of circular way that we've been working the physical body, we can work a home in that way, we can work a community in that way, and just like what Nassim is teaching us in resonance science with the nested aspects of our reality, we can build coherent environments from the body all the way out into our communities and into our medicine and into every aspect of our life, so that we really then create a harmonically resonant life.
Awesome.
I mean, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
And then we become individual lighthouses living within lighthouse communities, and with access to a whole sort of network, a network of love. Essentially, our nervous systems are networks of love. The communities we live in are networks of love. We ourselves are channels for the force of love, and we just become so coherent, like moving like one waveform harmonically. And I believe that that's how we're going to heal the planet.
I love that.
And unified medicine, which is what I believe, which is what you're doing, the medicine that actually can reunite you with the truth of who you are. It's just bringing radiant health to the planet through the individual in a way that we've never seen before. So we're just up to that. That's all.
Anyway, this was a great start, I think.
Yeah.
And we'll do a few more of these where we can really flesh out some of these concepts further.
Yay.
But thanks. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.